Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Mathis Bouchet, a digital marketing and communications officer for several board game publishers such as Grail Games, Maple Games, Devil Pig Games, Colossal, and Matadot Games. Today, we'll be chatting about Matadot's follow-up to Kemet called Yucatan, which is currently on Kickstarter. Mathis.
Me. Hi, everyone.
It is great to have you here. Wow. Kemet is was huge, right? A lot of people know it was huge. But we'll get into that in a second. First of all, what is a communications officer? What is that? What's that all about?
Well, my job is basically taking care of the communication and also digital marketing. And what I'm doing is I'm basically trying to put the words out about our games wherever I can. So like mainly socials, but also forums such as, Board Game Geeks. I also have access to a lot of French forums because I happen to be a very French person. Discords, obviously. Also, like actually interacting with people like you. We're part of this big world. Reviewers as well, and the marketing side is more targeted towards a proper advertisement on socials and stuff like this.
That's all encompassing. A lot of companies will actually sometimes split these roles apart. So if I was to kind of paraphrase, so you are in charge of essentially the entire online presence, right?
Yeah.
Community engagement as well as advertising?
True. The thing is, just as a reminder, because my main company is Matadot, obviously, because we're part of this whole association called Matadot and Friends, like all the brands you've mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. Shout out to Alexandra, Justine, and Michael, which are, part of the team as well, and helping me doing all of this. Alexandra, for example, is really present on the French side of Matadot only. Mm-hmm. Justin is also part of the partners, etc. And Michael, I always go towards the English pronunciation, but Michael is also helping me a lot on crowdfunding, really. So, for example, on Yucatan, I've been working closely with him.
So in being in France, you're in France, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I am right now. I'm in Bordeaux, the city of wine.
Oh, nice. So, obviously your English is very good. We'll get into some of your studies in a second because I'm sure there's a reason for that. But as a spokesperson, I guess, a company that's based out of France, it makes sense to have somebody that has a fairly good command of the English language to represent the company on things like this, podcasts like this and so forth, right? So you can get the communication out or...
in the communication marketing industry, I feel like English is basically mandatory now because, it's the language of the world. So if you struggle with it, it can get into some troubles, at least communicating with people and exchanging with them, because a big part of my job is actually to talk with people, getting to know them, getting to know what they want, what they like, telling them about our stories. Sorry, sometimes my English is going to slip a little bit because it's a bit late. But English is really, really important. I've realized that, and I'm sure you're going to jump into it, especially because I'm not especially coming from this industry at the start.
Yeah.
But I've realized how English is precious and actually appreciated.
So you studied English language in British contemporary civilization.
Yeah.
What is that? So was that like a university degree or something, or what was
it?
It
is. Yeah. In France, we pretty much have the same system as in the rest of the countries, but contrary to Canada and the US, our universities are mainly public schools, right? Yeah. And then we have private schools, and private schools are more targeted towards a more practical and professional approach of working. So like you'll have things like business schools, communication schools, stuff like this. And I went to good old university. I did a license, which is bachelor, and then I did my master's degree.
Oh wow!
In what we call language, literature, and foreign civilizations. And I've actually did a memoir, like the big on Brexit, and the question of identity.
So like a thesis almost on Brexit. Is that,
Yeah, it's like a small thesis. It's like 150 pages or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
So I did that.
so how does, I mean, clearly I think that that area of study would probably help inform you in terms of even some of the content you get into, especially when you get into games like you have right here, where you have different cultures and so forth that are represented, right, historically and so forth.
Yeah.
But how did you pivot from that into the board game industry in general?
So the thing is, during my whole university years, I've always done, and this is something I struggle with in English. I don't know how to call it in English. Like it's not really non-profits, but it's organizations, small
Like
organizations,
charities?
like local, kind of, yeah. I've always done charity work, not especially, on the charity side, like classic health and care, but more like, for example, student, organizations or musical. A lot of them were actually about video games. I did a lot of esport and stuff like this as well.
Yeah.
A bit of a politics as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So because my master degree was actually really targeted towards sociology, economy, and history. Like this is what part of my focus. So I was doing this during my whole university years, and this is actually funny. Well, I hope you're ready because it's story time. But
Sure.
I was working on something which is very French, which is called a concours, which is basically like a national contest, like where you study, you have preparation school, exams, and you don't have to pass, you have to be better than the rest. And there's a little bit of spots, like the concours I was doing had like 100 people on the wall of France accepted.
Wow.
And I was studying for this for 2 years. And at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to do just that. Plus, I need to pay my pastors. So I started working at a board game store. Actually, one of the most, like, they have their own YouTube channel. So if you speak French, shout out to Jeux des Cartes Bordeaux. And I started working there, just in the summer, just to get some money going on. And then things kind of unraveled. And 4 years later, I was still there. I don't know. I discovered modern board games there, and I was just like blown away. I always was the gamer type.
Yeah.
But board games, I was like, oh my God, the feelings I get from having people around the table. I'm really, like, as a player, I'm really into political and high interaction games because I love getting stories out of board games, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I got. And I was like, oh my God. And talking to people, because you're not just selling games, you're selling experiences, right? You're selling moments that they're going to share with people that they love or at least care a little bit about. So it's like, you feel good about yourself. You're going back home and you're like, I gave people some little bit of joy, cardboard joy, but joy still nonetheless. So I ended up working there for 4 years, and I met Arnaud, who is the CEO and owner of Matadot. And because, since his company is located in Bordeaux, he often came by the shop just to see how the games were going and having a little chat, just like feel the water. And we had a few chats, and Matadot was actually a company that a publisher really, that I appreciated because I really liked the games they were doing, especially localization, because, they do all this Jamie Stegmaier games, which, I mean, Wingspan is my favorite game. So, here you go. Even though it's not high interaction, but we can have this talk later. And it's just, I knew him, and one day I saw, a job offer pop out for social media manager.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the background because I wasn't coming out of any school. I knew I had this experience in charities, but it's not, I never got paid for what I did. I knew I did some things good, but I knew also that I had a lot of things to learn. I still applied for this job, and fast forward, I'm here.
Wow.
I'm here.
And then you never look back. Yeah.
I never looked back.
When you said moments, right, and experiences you have with people, I think that's a shared thing in this industry. I know that, I think back and I talk about my past with board games. I'm never really thinking about the game. I'm thinking more about the moments, right? The time with playing chess with my dad. It wasn't about the chess game itself. It was about the time with my dad, right? The times, meeting new friends as part of the meetup groups, pre-COVID. I would go out to game night. We always play these different games. And for me, it was just making friends, right? And I can't remember a lot of the games, but I remember a lot of the conversations. Right. And then designing games now with my brother is, it's incredibly rewarding because we're creating something that is going to create moments for other people. But at the same time, it's a moment with us. Right. It's bonding time with us. And, I really see this hobby industry is just amazing how it's brought people together. Right. And you hear about this even at conventions. Awesome. Right. And people going to conventions and,
Essen.
Exactly. Essen, right, is just massive, right? But seeing friends and colleagues you haven't seen in years, and it's just awesome. So when you guys launched, this series of games, and so just help me place where Yucatan fits in the overall world kind of series, because you guys have this kind of series of games, and they all kind of fit within the same kind of world. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, Cyclade and Kemet, the original one, came out way before I was in the company.
Okay.
But it's all about those games, with like overarching mythology behind them, and like this sort. It's always kind of grounded in reality, but it has this little twist of fantasy on it. It's not proper realism or proper mythology. It's just our own interpretation of it. And we had Cyclade, which is Cyclades, I guess in English, which was about Greek mythology. Then came Kemet, which is all about exploring those dunes while being a god and basically fighting your friends. And we had also Innis. I always forget, but Innis is actually, I have it right here. I look at it right now. And Innis is such a good game. It's about Celtic, mythology. And also it's very, very smart. All those games, what I like about them is that you have this sort of theme going on between them, as you properly mentioned, which is basically fantasy, mythology, fighting, area control kind of games.
With ancient civilizations,
but all of them have their own little twists and specificities which make them so unique. And if you're into these games, like I'm gonna mention Alex from Board Game Co.
We
just said, he is. Thank him. I really thank him for the video he did, by the way, on Yucatan. But the all of them, they're part of this, and you can have all of those games and still have a unique experience with all of them. And Yucatan is the newcomer. It's designed by someone that I already made a game, which is part of this series, which is Guillaume Montiage, who is one of the two designers of Kemet. And shout out to Jacques also, which is the other author, sorry. And he made this game. We actually published on BGG some designer diaries. So we go a bit we go a bit over what went into his mind when he made this game. But and now we're exploring Central America mythos.
It's
I don't
cool.
know if it works in English, but
for those who don't know, Kemet hit like 800,000 euros on Kickstarter. Like, it was just colossal in its success. And it's a cool game. Like, I haven't played it myself, but just the visuals and the art itself is...
You should play it.
Well, I will. It's on my list. I can only play so many games, right? I got all these people now that are saying like 50 games in 50 weeks. I saw someone else is talking about... we were talking with Goliath Games about doing like 365 games, so one a day. I wish, right? But unfortunately, there's part of the other stuff I'm working on gobbles up time, but I will get to it because it looks super cool. I love that part of the world. I visited that part of the world. I've walked through ruins in Belize and in went to Cal, and so it's something that I've always kind of followed over the years because I just love archaeology and I love kind of the mythos around that and the art that comes around that. And I think you guys have done an amazing job, quite frankly, in transferring that into this game, right? Like it is. If I look at Yucatan, I'm sharing the screen for people here too. And I mean, kudos to you guys in Canadian dollars. I don't have this in euros, but you guys are at $185,000 already in Canadian dollars. 1,734 backers, still 18 days ago. So this thing is going to be another good success for you guys.
We hope so.
But
I'm
just
touching
this
some wood.
fiery red cover with the guy getting ready to do the sacrifice on the front is just cool. Like it just looks awesome, right? So
Thank you.
Can you explain to us, I'm hovering over this page that people can see or are going to watch afterwards. How do you play Kemet? Like what's the overall kind of objective of this game?
Kemet or Yucatan?
Oh, sorry, no, Kemet, Yucatan. My apologies, Yucatan.
Yeah. And by the way, just to mention, because you went over, obviously this call we did on like, money wise, but what we're really proud of is the number of backers actually.
Huge.
Because we feel it's more than 10,000 backers on Kemet, which is just, we're really appreciative of all the players supporting us. For Yucatan, and some of them have joined us on this adventure as well. Yucatan is basically a game where you'll assume the role of one of a CD leader. The thing is, the problem is that the gods, they get hungry, really hungry, and they get hungrier the more the game goes forward.
Are you saying hangry?
Hungrier. I tried to pronounce the H.
I love it. The hangry gods.
It's slate.
No, it's good.
But because they want sacrifices in the name, because the gods show a bit of appreciation, right?
Sure.
What you do is that each round you'll have control of 2 of your chieftains and 1 lead CD leader, basically. What you do is that you choose an action from your personal board, with your city leader. And for your war chiefs, you're actually going to move them on the map. But the twist is that, in previous games, you probably had like big maps where you actually moved from tiles to tiles. Here in Yucatan, you actually, I don't know if I'm also scrolling, so I know what
you just choose your cities essentially.
Yeah, this big map you see in the middle is just 3 zones. You have the middle part, which is neutral. You're just out there, and then you have 3 CDs, and players are just going to go into CDs trying to get control over them so they can get some resources and prisoners. Because with your actions which will be represented by obviously your CD chief and your war chiefs, you're going to fight people with your war chiefs and your troops, and you could try to get some prisoners. Why? Because the prisoners can be sacrificed at the end of the round, to get victory points, basically. The twist there is that depending on the round.
Yep.
Depending on the round, the value of these prisoners will change. Right.
Is it randomized or is it go down in value?
No. It's at first, prisoners, they have like high value because the gods, theme wise, the gods, they didn't get their share of blood, so now they just get blood and they're like, oh yay. Okay. But the more they get fed, the less interest they have in those mortals, and all during this, I'm just trying to pitch it really fast. We actually have, by the way, a Tabletopia version. Thank you to the Tabletopia team, by the way, that we work with that made this digital version. We have a version that you can play, and we have all the rules if you want details in the page as well. And I did some YouTube videos explaining the game in more detail and not at midnight, that you can check out. But yeah, during all this game, you also do some really cool things. You're actually going to upgrade your city because you have buildings, right? And those buildings, they activate something. So for example, you have a building giving you some resources, stuff like this. And those buildings, you can improve them. Your troops, the 2 troops that are linked to your 2 war chiefs, you can actually customize each of them individually. So the thing is that this is actually really, really cool. When I played, I really enjoyed that because then you get 2 troops that will really be different at the end of the game. They have their own abilities and powers, plus they can also get their own heralds, summonings accompanying them. Sorry for my English there.
That's okay. No, it's good.
But because one of the big things that you'll find in common in Kemet Cyclades, not so much in Innis, but you have like big monsters, big figurines. And those guys you can actually like summon through some actions, and it will cost you a bit of resources, right? And they will not stay permanently with you. You have to pay a certain amount, depending on the level of the invocation, the summoning, and then you can pay a bit more, so they stay a bit longer. But
Okay, gotcha.
you don't own those summonings.
So
It's
they just
just
kind of assist you temporarily.
exactly.
So with
And
the
this whole thing, yeah, sorry.
just quick question for you. So first of all, the pyramid that comes in this game just looks awesome, right? I love the pyramid. I love this whole idea of how your
Thank you.
chieftains are moving up the steps of the pyramid to try to get to the top to be kind of like the head of the sacrifice. When you're sacrificing, so number one, when you're capturing prisoners, are you capturing them from like a generic pool, like in the city, or you capture them from other players?
This is actually a great question. This game is all about interaction. And you thank you for this question, because you led me to talk about combat, because prisoners you make by fighting other people.
Okay.
Fighting is this big thing in Yucatan. You're always fighting. There's always an incentive to fight, even if you win or if you lose, because in both cases you will get some prisoners, and those prisoners are so important for your victory that you always want to be fighting, basically. To fight, you'll use cards, and you have a system which is actually kind of, I really like it, because a lot of things are economy driven in the game.
Yeah.
This is the Euro part of the game, and cards, for example, you can only use once, except a 0 that will come back into your hand. There's a little symbol on it.
Yep.
The base cards you get, you can always use them once. Even the cards you will acquire from the global deck,
Yep.
through certain effects or powers, you can only use them once. So there's this huge bluffing mechanism in Yucatan,
Yeah.
which is very, very cool. And basically, when the fight is over, you take some prisoners from your opponent. Some cards and some troop upgrades or summonings will allow you to get more prisoners, but you always get them from other people, and you yourself will recruit new warriors from a common pool through building actions and other things.
So, okay, so you get the prisoners you're getting from the other player, which is
Yeah.
cool, and this is right up the alley of my brother and I, because we just go after each other in every game we play, regardless if it's even versus. Even if there's Euro styles, we find a way to combat each other. But in this game, so then once you get these prisoners, then you have to decide if you're going to sacrifice them to the gods. So they're basically being murdered, right, on the temple.
They're not being murdered; they're being put to a greater purpose.
Yeah, so they're being released of their earthly duties to perform the duties
Exactly.
in the heavens. And
Exactly.
so when you do that, how do you determine how many you're going to sacrifice? And do you want to make sure you have prisoners left over for like the next round? Or how does that work? Is it basically the more you sacrifice, the better? Or is there some other mechanic in there?
No, it's. I don't know. You actually did your homework, because those are all really good questions. You remember this pyramid that you like so much?
Yeah.
There's
awesome.
actually something which is turning at the top.
The
I
wheel?
don't know if you can see it. Yeah, the wheel. Thank you. Which will move from season to season. You have 4 seasons in the game, or 4 ages, and each of those ages will basically tell you how much a prisoner is worth. And at the end of the turn, you can choose how much prisoners you will sacrifice. But the thing is, there's this mechanic which is very, very cool, is that when you sacrifice prisoners, you actually need to properly earn points to sacrifice more than the previous season. So this is where it gets a bit brainy, I guess.
Yep.
Is that first turn, imagine you did like a very, very good first turn, and you had like a lot of prisoners. Let's say, I don't know, you have a lot. I don't want to say a stupid number, but and then you choose to sacrifice all of them. That's really good, because you're actually gonna maybe move up the pyramid if you were the one to sacrifice the most. You will get some points. You will get bonuses, because we didn't mention it, but you also have like a board on the side of the game. I don't remember the exact name of it, but on which you progress, and that will unlock some tiers of technology.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
to do that, you need to actually sacrifice more than the previous turns. And the thing is, you can also save a little bit because since a lot of your game engine will be built during the game, you want to set up a certain pace for yourself, because
Yeah.
if you want to go all in, it's high risk high reward kind of play.
Yeah.
But just imagine that you go into a fight and someone just bluffs you out of your fight and you lose it. Suddenly you're not in the leading position anymore, you didn't get as much prisoners as you were expecting to. And this is actually something that I really love about this game when I played it, is this feeling of, okay, I don't know about you, but I love when games, it's not that they frustrate me. It's just that they say, okay, you have all of this to do, but you can only do two of them.
Yeah.
Choose wisely.
Yeah.
And I love this. I love this because I'm also like doing my own little games with some colleagues and stuff like this. I'm really into game design, and I'm a firm believer that from I don't know how to call it in English, but from limitation,
Limitations
boundaries,
Yep.
yeah, are born like great, great choices and ways to find the best solution. I just think it gets player being very creative. Whereas if you just drop them in like this big open thing where they can do a lot of things, sometimes they just wander, kind of. But this is just a personal opinion, obviously.
And how does
this game does that?
How does the corn and all that stuff come in? Because I can see like you can actually grow crop stuff as well, right? So how does and you sacrifice?
It's two resources. It's two resources mainly, corn and jade. Corn will be used, first of all, when you move, you actually need to spend a bit of corn.
Okay.
So this is the sort of resource that you always need to have. And jade is used a lot for summonings, actually. So this is the second resource which is a little bit harder to get, but which is highly important, because those monsters, they don't just look good, they're actually powerful.
And how do you source those resources? How do you get those two resources?
So you have some actions. I don't want to say some stupid stuff because it's been a while since I played. You obviously start with some of those resources. If I remember correctly, you start with 2 jade and 5 corn, something like this. And then you have actions. One of your actions is actually to get exactly. You get buildings provide you with some of those resources. You also get some from your city chief. And you also get some from the cities. The sacred cities. They have their own little how do you call it? I don't know how to call it. This
specialties, I guess.
We call them temples.
Okay,
we call them temples, but it's mainly standees.
Okay.
And basically they have 4 options, but a new one unlock every round. So at the end you have like the 4 options of reward that you can choose. But let's just take one, for example. You have like +4 corn, +2 jade, or like getting an upgrade or something. And basically if you win the fight when you go into a city, you can take one of those rewards.
Oh, that's cool. So
it is cool.
is there another, like, so where does Matadot going from here? Are they going to continue on this kind of Central American mythos road, or is there somewhere else they're going, or kind of what's the next plan from here?
We're not just doing big people on a map type of games. We've been doing a lot of things. Recently we've been putting out Murano. I don't know if you heard about it, which is this abstract game, which is actually really cool, about glassblowers in Venice.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It is. I mean, I can't say much, but 2022 is going to be big. And if you're a fan of François Rouzet, you're going to be happy. Let's just say that.
Oh, that's cool. How do people follow along this? Is there a way that someone can be kind of, other than backing the games? I mean, backing is one way to be informed pretty recently of what's going on. But if somebody just wants to know kind of what's coming down the pipe, is there like a group they can join or something like that?
Obviously, they can access all our socials. So we're mainly on Facebook, on Instagram. We've launched Discord, but we're gonna actually rework it and hope to relaunch it soon. And also, we have this website called Matadot. I don't know how you call it, the little
The URL?
minus.
Okay,
the
dash.
minus symbol.
Matadot.
Dash. Thank you. Matadot-friends.com.
Oh, cool.
And which is this web store, but you can also subscribe to newsletter. And newsletter obviously are a great way for us to reach out to you, because we have a lot of them coming out to inform which games are coming out, what we're doing, etc. So yeah, socials and newsletters.
Well, certainly if Kemet and now Yucatan, quality-wise, if that's any indication of what people can continue to expect from Matadot Games, I think they're going to be very, very happy. I want to wish you all the best on this campaign. Obviously, you guys are killing it. It's going to keep going, obviously, and it's going to be another smash hit for you guys. So I want to congratulate you on that. And if anybody wants to check this out, simply go to Kickstarter, run a search on Yucatan. I'll put it in the show notes as easy as well. So it's easy if you just want to look in the show notes of the podcast, both on YouTube as well as the audio. You'll see a link there. You click it, it'll take you over there to the page. And if it's something you like, then maybe back it. But at the very least, you should check it out for the visuals, because it looks awesome. Mathis, I want to wish you all the best this coming year, eh?
Thank you very much.
You take care. Cheers.
Yeah, you too.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.